Rees-Mogg attacks Hammond blame lies with Chancellor over Treasury's fiddling figures. Last week the Brexiteer MP made the accusation against the department who he says wants to make sure Britain to remain in the customs union after Brexit. And yesterday Mr Rees-Mogg, who chairs the influential European research group of backbench Tory Leavers, suggested Mr Hammond had breached collective cabinet responsibility and said although civil servants at the Treasury had produced biased forecasts, the blame must always be with ministers. Speaking to postgraduate journalism diploma students at the Press Association in central London, the Conservative MP said, "There are concerns that there are some people close to government who are trying to undermine the government's own policy." He added, "It's now been made clear we're not having the customs union. It is a reiteration of policy that the only person who seemed to be disagreeing with was the Chancellor of the Exchequer, and he ought to read up his constitution and think more carefully about what collective responsibility means." The MP added, "When you take these models of what happens unless you stay in the customs union, they are all completely dependent on the inputs that you start with, and the inputs that they have started with are ones that lead to the conclusion that you have to stay in the customs union." Other economists have used different inputs and looked at different modeling of global trade which says we'll do extremely well by not being in the customs union. And so do I think civil servants are politically biased. Well, I think the information the Treasury has produced is biased, but the blame must always be with ministers. Mr Rees-Mogg also attacked former civil service boss Lord O'Donnell, who accused Brexiteers of being snake oil salesmen who don't like the idea of experts testing your products. My Lord O'Donnell has said that we're snake oil salesmen, and he was cabinet secretary up until 2011, and in 2010 George Osborne, then Chancellor, set up the Office for Budget Responsibility, Mr Rees-Mogg said. Why did he set it up? He set it up because we needed an independent body because nobody trusted the figures coming from the Treasury, which were political. And O'Donnell was cabinet secretary when this was going on. Was he resigning over that? Saying it was a great affront to the impartiality of the civil service to say that they'd fiddled the figures when Gordon Brown was Chancellor? I think not. I think he stayed on happily in his job, and therefore I think this is not unusual.